Welcome to Amir Shakil 5858, the War and Love Report. I am Amir Goodnam. Now, a report on DeSantis campaign trail by Catherine and Zita.
GOP 2024 presidential hopefuls are continuing to rally voters across the U.S. ahead of the first debate in August. But Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is facing some legal questions on the campaign trail. They are linked to a new bus tour funded by a super PAC and comes as DeSantis works to restructure his staff. On America Decides last night, our Caitlin Huey Burns questioned the founder of that PAC about whether the coordination of the tour actually violates federal law.
We can set up events and then invite them to come. They just can't have any input on what happens at the event. For instance, so we set up a bus tour, proposed it to the campaign, and they either say yes or no. And that's why it's legal. They don't have any control over the arrangements made.
So we stay completely outside of coordinating. Is that kind of going right into that gray line?
No, that's not stretching it at all. No, if it were, we're not getting near any gray line. Florida's have done it tight to stay in the
campaign trail. And we'll start with DeSantis. Despite launching his campaign just over 2 months ago, Ron DeSantis' campaign appears to be sort of in reset mode. First, they laid off 10 staffers, then even more being fired this week. We've got this issue with the super PAC funding the bus tour. Could this signal that the DeSantis campaign is in trouble?
Well, Anne-Marie, they say it's hard to be at the top, and I think in politics it's also hard to be close to the top, which is what DeSantis has been experiencing so far in this early candidacy. Think back historically what kind of this second place or kind of this hotshot candidate coming into the race, what historically this kind of spot has represented. The Democrats in 2020, there was Beto O'Rourke, who really came out of the gate as kind of a celebrity candidate. Even Kamala Harris, everyone was talking about her in the summer of 2019. Beto and Kamala, they didn't even make it to 2020, right? Their campaigns closed in late 2019. Think back to 2016 with Republicans. You had Governor Jeb Bush, also from Florida. He really he was another candidate everyone was talking about. Jeb Bush didn't make it very far. Governor Scott Walker from Wisconsin, also everyone was talking about him. Didn't really have legs in his candidacy. Who knows what will happen with Ron DeSantis? But I think something that's interesting here, Anne-Marie, when you think about Jeb Bush, when you think about Scott Walker and Ron DeSantis, they're all governors. And when I spoke to voters the past couple weeks, I was out on the campaign trail in New Hampshire. A lot of folks said we really are looking at governors because it shows that they have experience being an executive and being the boss, and running a state, they say, is similar to running a country. So we'll see what happens. There has not been a governor elected president since 2000, George W. Bush, the former governor of Texas. So we'll see what happens this time around.
We will. I was thinking about John McCain, too. I can't remember exactly, but I remember it felt like at the time his whole
special counsel's investigation into former President Trump and the classified documents case. There's a new superseding indictment involving Mr. Trump, charging him with one additional count of willful retention of national defense information as well as obstruction of justice. And a third defendant, an employee at Mar-a-Lago, has been added as a defendant as well. All this as the federal potential charges over efforts to overturn the 2020 election convene. With a third indictment of Mr. Trump thought to be imminent, his lawyers met today with officials from the office of special counsel Jack Smith. Afterward, the former president saying it was a productive meeting, that his lawyers told the special counsel that Mr. Trump did nothing wrong. All of this coming to special counsel. We have it all covered tonight with Laura.
Accounts just revealed by the special counsel's office minutes ago involved the classified documents case at Mar-a-Lago, where the former president is accused of mishandling classified material and blocking efforts by officials to retrieve those materials. These new counts add a charge of willful retention of national defense information. Mr. Trump is also charged, along with his personal aide, Walt Nauta, and a new defendant, Mar-a-Lago employee Carlos de Oliveira, with obstruction conspiracy. The new obstruction counts are significant and based on allegations that the defendants attempted to delete surveillance footage at Mar-a-Lago in the summer of 2022. Mr. Trump has pleaded not guilty to the previous charges in this case, and the Justice Department he is alleged is politically motivated.
All right, sir.
Met today with no indictments revealed. Meanwhile, former President Trump went on social media to again say he did nothing wrong, and that his lawyers were not given any timing today about when an indictment might come in the meeting with the special counsel's office. He wrote, "My attorneys had a productive meeting with the DOJ, expressing the view that an indictment of Mr. Trump would only further destroy our country. Until Trump's legal team doubts they changed the special counsel's mind and that they're still preparing for an indictment to come."
In a Michigan courtroom today, agony on display. Victims' families crying as prosecutors played never-before-seen surveillance video of the 2021 Oxford High School shooting that killed 4 and wounded 7. Video the judge directed media not to show. A teacher describing hiding in lockdown after being shot. Sent my husband a text message. It just said I love you. Active sugar. Ethan Crumbley often looking down, emotionless, as Oakland County prosecutors argued the now 17-year-old should serve life in prison without parole, the harshest possible penalty under Michigan law for a rampage that haunts first responders tasked with running past the wounded to stop a killer.
Something we weren't prepared for is how do you push past a child? That needs help.
Crumbley pleaded guilty last year to 24 counts, including first-degree murder and terrorism charges. Prosecutors leaning on his social media posts showing off his gun, video of him at a shooting range, journal entries about torturing baby birds, and a video of Crumbley describing his desire to kill.
I understand the consequences. I understand that I will be in prison for this.
Crumbley was 15 at the time of the shooting. These proceedings are known as a Miller hearing. They're required since a Supreme Court case struck down mandatory life sentences without parole for minors. Defense attorneys argue he can be rehabilitated, that he came from a violent home and wrote about wanting help controlling his anger.
The fact that a vile offense occurred is not by itself enough to warrant the imposition of life without parole.
A judge declining to let Crumbley's parents attend the hearing, each facing charges of involuntary manslaughter, where investigators say giving their son a gun for Christmas despite signs he may be violent. Jennifer and James Crumbley have pleaded not guilty tonight, both via their attorneys declining to comment. And prosecutors say these proceedings could last into early next week. Among those still expected to testify, several students who witnessed the massacre.
FAA and NTSB are investigating a close call in skies over Florida. A Allegiant airline plane and a private jet forced to take evasive actions to avoid a collision at 23,000 feet. Allegiant 485 had just taken off from Fort Lauderdale, heading for Kentucky. Soon after that, the pilot had to take on some extreme climb, about 600 feet, in seconds to avoid another plane, throwing flying attendants to the floor and terrifying passengers. It was very scary, according to a passenger. It was like a ride on a rolling coaster, according to other passenger. FAA said it happened when a controller put an Allegiant flight and a Gulfstream jet intersecting routes both at 23,000 feet. That's when collision avoidance warning activated, ordering the Allegiant pilot to immediately climb and Gulfstream jet pilot to descend. FAA said an air traffic controller had instructed Flight 485 to turn eastbound at an altitude of 23,000 feet when it crossed in front of a northbound Gulfstream business jet. 175 passengers were saved, but one flight attendant hurt. At that time, the controller said, Allegiant 485, we are going to declare an emergency on your behalf. Allegiant management said that Flight 85 returned to Fort Lauderdale International Airport, where a flight attendant was treated for injuries. Number of crossing from southern part of the United States are decreasing, but number of immigrants are increasing. All illegal immigrants who are caught by authorities are loaded on the planes and sent back to their own country. Since May, 85,000 people have been repatriated to their home country, according to the Department of Homeland Security. It is 65% up compared to the last year at the same period. This signal to the illegal immigrants that they should not come to America because they will be sent back at any cost and they will spend all their money for nothing. The Border Security Force says that number of illegal immigrants are still high. Republican blasted the Democratic government that they have opened a new channel for these illegal immigrants to enter the United States. Across the border, In Mexico, thousands of illegal immigrants are still waiting for the chance to cross the Rio Grande whenever they get the opportunity, despite of dangers and drowning. This week, a federal judge blocked the Biden administration policy limiting who can apply for an asylum. That would completely change the immigration policy again if the ruling is going to into the effect next month. A teenage girl who was vanished from her home in Arizona 40 years ago has been showed up at police station in Montana. A nationwide search started in 2019. Now she is 18 and she said, "Nobody has hurt me." Her mother is very happy and exciting after seeing her daughter 4 years ago later. Police is still trying to find what happened during those 4 years with this girl. Right now it still has no answer. So the search is over, but the mystery remains. A tick-borne illness is spreading all over the country.
The CDC calling it an emerging public health problem and warning.
CDC has issued the warning. A diagnosis of a patient who was suffering extreme pain in joints. The diagnosis was alpha-gal syndrome, typically caused by a Lone Star kid. That tick bite might lead to an allergic response to alpha-gal sugar that's found in red meat. And after we eat ramp, then we develop the allergic reaction. One patient disclosed that she is now also allergic to dairy and gelatin. CDC surveyed 1,500 doctors and 42% never heard of this syndrome, and 35% not confident in ability to detect or treat it. The symptoms of this syndrome are hives, itching, abdominal pain, vomiting, chest tightness. CDC said the alpha-gal syndrome, traditionally found in Midwestern states, is spreading. 110,000 cases has been found or detected since 2010. But the expert says that the true number is 450,000 cases. The expert says that the challenge is to getting to those primary care front providers that are seeing patients and having 15-year-old and son of NBA superstar LeBron James was treated earlier this week for cardiac arrest. Says now he's resting and at home. Cardiologist says that Brown was fully conscious when he arrived at the hospital after his cardiac arrest at the practice game. Doctors are now encouraged by his progress. LeBron James thanks fans. FDA has announced they recalled nearly 11,000 cases of Trader Joe's store brand soup. Health officials says that they have found insects in 20-ounce package in unexpected broccoli cheddar soup. Those cases were shipped to Washington, California, Texas, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Florida, Connecticut, and New Jersey. 15-year-old and son of NBA superstar LeBron James was treated earlier this week for cardiac arrest. Says now he's resting and at home. Cardiologist says that Brown was fully conscious when he arrived at the hospital after his cardiac arrest at the practice game. Doctors are now encouraged by his progress. LeBron James thanks fans. I am thankful to all news resources for their continuous cooperation. I am also thankful to the viewers for their privilege of time. Have a good night.